I was a master procrastinator. In my final year of neuroscience at Nottingham, I had this dissertation project. Now, for those of you who don't know what a dissertation is, it's usually in the final year of a degree. There's usually a massive project, which is usually around 7 to 8,000 words, and you have to complete it because it makes up like most of the grade that you actually end up getting for your degree. So the project I had was about 7,000 words, and I had a whole year to write this. But guess when I started writing it? Yeah, literally only 10 days before the submission deadline, and I only submitted it literally 10 minutes before the deadline. Looking back on it, I think like, what the hell was I doing? I literally had a whole year to do this, but yet I took like the last minute to do it. What was going through my mind? Like, I still don't know why I did that, even though it made up a lot of my grade. But I ended up doing well on it. I got a 2-1, so like 68%, which is decent. What's going on? I'm Sid, and I'm a second year medical student. And as you can tell, I was pretty good at procrastinating and putting things off. But I've learned how to stop doing that and actually just getting started on the work. So what is procrastination? Why do we do it? Why do we not feel like doing the work? So procrastination is simply where you have work to do, but you just keep putting it off. You either don't do it or you do something less important. You're essentially procrastinating from that number one thing you need to get started on. That's your priority, and you just keep putting it off. You might be able to relate to this. You've got a task you need to do, and you don't want to do it, so you're just sitting on the sofa like a couch potato scrolling through Instagram or whatever it is. Why do we do this? Why can't we just stop scrolling on Instagram? Why can't we like swipe up off TikTok or something? And why can't we just stop reading all the comments in the YouTube section and actually just like put that aside and sit down and do the work? Because it provides comfort. Now, that's one reason. The main reason is, and for me it was because it was so big, it was so difficult, the task. The reason why I couldn't sit down and work on my dissertation project was because I saw it as 7,000 words. That's what I saw. I didn't see it as something I could tackle on month by month, week by week. Instead, I immediately thought, I need to sit down and write out all 7,000 words today or I'm a waste man. If only I had just sat down and wrote just 500 words. Only 500 words, and I know that's nothing, but imagine compounding 500 words a day for 2 months. The project is done, it's perfected. If only I had done that, but I didn't. Obviously, I literally left it till 10 days before the deadline. So what can you do to overcome procrastination? First, acknowledge the task it is that you want to do. If it's making flashcards or finishing reading that book or even sending a quick email to your professor, whatever the task is, just make note of it. Next, you want to be specific and break the task down. So let's say you have a big task to complete. Let's say you have an upcoming exam you need to study for. I would write down, okay, tomorrow from 12 to 2 p.m. I'm going to study biology topic 1, and that's all I'm going to focus on. You see how that's so specific? Instead of saying, yeah, I'll do biology tomorrow, or you just write it down in your to-do list or something. You have to be specific. You have to say when you're going to do and what you're going to do. Because one thing I realized with school, and school does this really well, is everything is rigid. When you look at your timetable, you have certain subjects, at the same time, like every single week. And we need to sort of take a note from school in that regard, because if we in our own personal lives say tomorrow we have to do this, like put it into the calendar, put it into your Google Calendar or wherever, right, it makes it so much easier to just do it, right? Because it's there now. So be specific and break it down. Another thing I want to discuss, which can be quite useful, is the 2-minute rule. Now, what is the 2-minute rule? The 2-minute rule is simply, if a task takes less than 2 minutes to do, then just do it now. If you've got bin bags you need to take out and throw in the rubbish, or you need to send an email to someone like your professor or your teacher, just do it now. It literally takes less than 2 minutes. So make sure that if you have tasks that take less than 2 minutes, just do it. There's no harm in it. And lastly, one of my favorite things to do to get started is actually using the Pomodoro Technique. Now, if you don't know what the Pomodoro Technique is, it's essentially where you sit down for 25 minutes and you work. You set a timer and you work. And after that, you have a 5 minute break, and you just keep doing that for like 4 cycles. And then after 4 times, studying, you have one massive break, like 15, 20 minutes or something. And this is honestly so amazing. I do this all the time. I do it more now, especially because, as a medical student, I need to sit down and I need to study. And one thing I always keep saying on this channel is be good, not perfect. If I have a subject I need to get started on studying today, I would tell myself, okay, if I do 25 minutes, that's good. That's amazing. Because, at the end of the day, when you look at like, at the end of the week, for example, if you have loads of 25-minute sessions, those add up, right? But if you, had the all or nothing mindset or principle, which whatever it is, saying, you know what, I need to do all of this. You know what? If I can't do all of this, I'm just not even going to get started. So by the end of the week, you've probably done 2 or 3 hours worth of studying or revision, if you use the Pomodoro technique. Now, if you didn't, then, you've done nothing. Like, you see how far that pushes you towards your goal and your career, or whatever it is for you. Now, there are a few apps on the App Store that utilize like the Pomodoro technique. The one I use is called Forest. It's a paid app, but you can find websites online. I'll link a few websites that I use when I'm working on my laptop and I want to get some work done, because I'm not always using my iPad or my phone. But yeah, do check them out, because they are honestly one of the best things you can do when it comes to sitting down and actually getting started on doing the work. And lastly, the reason why you want to do all of this is because you want to enter which is what we call a flow state. And what is a flow state? A flow state is essentially where you sit down and you have like deep focus, and you're working on something for hours and you just can't be disturbed. Whether it's like studying or reading a book, that's your flow state. And one thing I will say is you don't need to do the Pomodoro technique or any of these techniques when it comes to your flow state task, because if you can sit down first thing in the morning, like after having a cup of coffee or with your cup of coffee at your desk, working for 2 hours, you don't need to like already segment those hours. Now, I would say only use the Pomodoro technique when you have trouble starting out. So what I mean by that is if you wake up and you can sit down and work for 2 hours, that's fine. You don't need to use it. But what happens after those 2 hours? What happens when you can't focus, when, you have a bit of brain fog and you feel tired? Then that's only when I would say use Pomodoro technique, because then you can just push yourself in 25-minute increments to like study or, do wherever it is you want to do. And believe me when I say this, like, even though I know like I'm a medical student and I'm supposed to be studying like 24/7 or whatever, sometimes I just don't feel like studying. And it happens to all of us at one point. And that's when I say like, really use these techniques, the 2-minute rules, the Pomodoro techniques. Like, they do work, and I will 100% vouch for them, because all my friends also use them, just because your productivity literally skyrockets. And if you've never tried it out, I would highly suggest you give it a go. Sit down for 25 minutes, just focus on one thing. Don't worry about anything else, no other tasks. Whatever you have to eat tomorrow, or you have to go to like Birmingham or Manchester tomorrow with your family, don't worry about that at all. Sit down, focus on the task, and just get the work done for 25 minutes. Have your 5-minute break and see how you feel. Like, trust me, you'll feel pretty fucking good. So then sit back down again and do another 25 minutes and keep doing that. And before you realize it, sometimes this happens to me. Like, one time I actually remember where I was pulling an all-nighter for one of my, med school exams in first year. And I didn't want to study from like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. because the exam was at 8 a.m., right? And so I was like, okay, like, what's the best way for me to sit down, get the work done without like procrastinating? And the whole night, that's all I did was use the Pomodoro technique. I didn't do anything else. And I got in so many study sessions, and, I went to the exam in the morning and I passed it. So like, that's literally the power of these techniques. So do use them. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see more content on, academia, productivity and tips and strategies, or even things like that, do subscribe, because I will be making more videos in the future. Like, I know my channel is new and everything, but I will try and make more and more content, as the year goes on. So do subscribe, because it will help out a ton, and I'll see you in the next one.